Hello everyone, welcome to Any Pluto. Let's start the video. The film is set in a town where a young lady named Sophie Hatter is working in a cap shop. Her collaborators welcome her to come to the town community as they energetically discuss a moving palace possessed by a wizard named Cry. Sophie strolls through a back street where she gets bugged by two men in regalia. A secretive man saves her and requests that she stroll with him while he's being pursued by a gathering of disgusting dark animals. She overreacts as they stroll in the air and the strange man puts her on the overhang of a pastry kitchen before leaving. Sophie gets back to the cap shop when an odd-looking lady enters the shop and starts ridiculing it. Sophie advises her to leave, however the lady uncovers herself as the dreaded Witch of the Waste and advises Sophie to pass her respects to Whale. She places a revile that transforms her into an elderly person and makes her unfit to enlighten anybody regarding the revile. The following day, Sophie chooses to figure out how to eliminate the revile set upon her. She rides a truck to the mountains. While resting, she sees a jetting branch in a bramble. She attempts to involve it as a mobile stick, however the stick ends up being a scarecrow that has tumbled down. The scarecrow is alive and Sophie names him Turnip. She advises him to proceed to track down her a house to remain in for the night, which he obliges by bringing her the moving palace. She is stunned. Expressing farewell to Turnip, she pursues the palace because the night is cold outside. Inside the palace, it is dim and chaotic. Sophie sits before the fire and begins to talk. It's a fire evil spirit named Calcifer who sees Sophie's revile and offers to break it on the off chance that she can break the revile that ties him to Whale. She declines his proposition and nods off. The following morning, a kid named Markle comes to the first floor and ponders who Sophie is. Calcifer tells Markle that Sophie meandered in from the squanders. Sophie plays with the palace's entryway, which can change areas utilizing shaded dials. Markle berates her before getting ready for breakfast and is stunned when Sophie can tame Calcifer enough to let her cook a legitimate breakfast. Out of nowhere, the entryway's dial becomes dark and the wizard Whale comes in, the one who saved Sophie before. She says that she's his new housekeeper and Whale takes over preparing breakfast. While eating, Whale asks her what's in her pocket, which ends up being a spell from the witch who needs to have his heart. Sophie begins to clean the palace after Cry leaves. She gets disappointed by the wreck, but is stunned by Calcifer's enchantment that makes the palace move. On the gallery, she and Markle help Turnip, who stalled out in the palace's external niche. In the meantime, Whale is out engaging numerous warships in his actual structure, which seems to be a monster bird. He returns home depleted. At the point when Cry goes to wash up, he looks at Sophie, who is dozing and seems to be a young lady once more. In the first part of the day, Whale is making an uproar about his hair turning around to dark. His fit of rage makes the house turn dull and his body becomes foul, so Sophie hauls him to the washroom and advises Markle to tidy him up. At the point when she comes to Cry's space to bring him warm milk, he tells her that he's alarmed by being gotten by the Witch of the Waste. Cry is welcomed by the Lord to assist with the conflict, and she urges him to proceed to stop the conflict, all things being equal. He thinks of the plan to send her as his mom and let the ruler know that he's unsuitable to help them. At the point when she shows up at the castle, she meets again with the witch, who says she can't switch Sophie's revile. They need to climb an extremely tall arrangement of steps, which the witch battles with. She quickly sits on a seat before being changed into a frail old woman, while Sophie is accompanied to a sunroom with the ruler's witch named Suleiman. Incidentally, Whale was her understudy, very much like the witch. Suleiman offers to break Cry's revile on the off chance that he helps the realm. The Lord shows up in a flying machine, however it's Whale. Suleiman projects a deception to trap them and Yell transforms into his bird structure to break out of it and utilize the flying machine to get away. They additionally bring the witch and Suleiman's canine Heen. Whale advises Sophie to fly towards the house utilizing the ring that he parted with her while he diverts the warriors. In the end, Sophie and the others collide with the palace. Sophie stirs when Yell returns and she goes to his room, which had transformed into a maze. She sees him in a massive bird structure and says that she needs to help since she cherishes him, yet rather Yell lets her be. In the first part of the day, Yell transforms the palace into a far superior variant utilizing a charm in any event, giving Sophie her room and an elegant slope with a cabin that he used to remain in as a youngster. That evening, Sophie is tucking the old witch to bed when an air assault boils down to the town. The witch makes sense of that it's Suleiman attempting to find the palace as Yell attempts to fend them off. Sophie's mom drops by and they make up for a lost time. The witch understands that Sophie's mom was told by Suleiman to establish a bug in the palace, which she tosses for Calcifer to eat. That evening more airstrikes occur and Sophie sees a rocket is going to stir things up around town, yet it is come by Yell. He is sorry for not coming sooner and goes into the house to reignite Calcifer. He leaves again to battle in any event when Sophie beseeches him to remain, saying that he's finished running since he needs to safeguard her now. Sophie frenzies and needs to clear the palace, yet when she removes Calcifer from the palace it quickly separates. Sophie returns Calcifer to the hearth, requesting that he move what's left of the palace utilizing power acquired from eating her hair. The witch understood that Calcifer and Whale's heart is on the hearth and she takes it, consuming herself. Sophie sprinkles her with water when abruptly the palace falls to pieces. She and Heen fall into a valley with half of the palace while Markle, Calcifer and the witch continue onward. Sophie cries since she's worried about the possibility that he had killed both Calcifer and Yell by smothering the fire. Anyway, her ring shows her where Cry is through the severed palace entryway that prompts obscurity. It prompts the sloping cabin and Sophie sees a youthful whale eating a meteorite which transforms into Calcifer. The world begins to separate, so Sophie yells at the two to sit tight for her return before leaving through the entryway once more. Whale is there in his tremendous bird structure and Sophie kisses him, saying sorry for taking such a long time. He then takes her and Heen to what survives from the palace and Yell quickly drops. Sophie figures out how to get the heart back from the witch and endeavors to return his heart. She succeeds and Calcifer turns into his actual structure and takes off while Yell awakens with his heart back in its place. The palace quits moving because Calcifer is gone, however fortunately Turnip saves them. Sophie gives him a kiss which breaks his spell and turns him back to the missing sovereign of the adjoining country. He commits to ending the conflict and leaves. Calcifer gets back to Sophie in his fire structure, saying that he misses them. The film closes with them generally living joyfully in another flying palace. Thanks for watching my video. Please like and subscribe to Any Pluto.